everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. And we're going to be talking about its brand new Warner Bros. 4K Blu-ray that just came out in the Nightmare on Elm Street 7 film 4K Steelbook collection. But before we get into that, I always like to give a quick film review, and today is no different. So if you don't want to know anything about the film A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and you're just here for that 4K Blu-ray review, you guys can skip ahead to that right now. So about 18 months after the release of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, of course, New Line Cinema was going to capitalize on that film's success and make the fourth film, which is basically just continuing the story from the third one, even though we thought we had closed it out and Freddy was dead and gone and buried. Nope, he's just back in this film, and when he reappears, how does he explain it? You shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead. Well, obviously, but why? They don't explain that. He comes back in every single Nightmare on Elm Street film, and they never have to explain it. And you're not really there to question, especially at this point in the fourth film in the franchise, directed by Renny Harlin. You know, they're really not thinking that you're a very intelligent film watcher at this point. Let me just put it that way, because as much as I like Dream Warriors, the fourth film is a pretty big step down. Even though there are some stuff that I love in this film, right out of the gate, Kristen, who was played by Patricia Arquette in the last film, is recast by Tuesday Night. And Tuesday Night, the rumor is, now this is just a rumor, everyone's denied it, is that Renny Harlin and her were having a relationship, and that's how she ended up getting the role of Kristen again. I'm not too sure why Patricia Arquette didn't come back. It did feel weird that the third movie had a lot of, like, would-be A-list actors in there, you know, obviously before they broke through, but you had Lawrence Fishburne, you had Patricia Arquette, it's directed by Chuck Russell. I mean, Heather Langenkamp is no slouch herself. You got Wes Craven writing the story for this movie and co-writing the screenplay, so it felt like there was a lot of, like, pieces in place, and now this just feels like a full-blown cash grab 80s horror franchise, which I love, because I do love the 1980s horror franchises, and when they make this turn here, you know, they're just fun rewatches. But if you're looking at it from a critical standpoint, you can see that this is not the smartest horror film, and everyone's there just to really have a good time. It's a relic of the 1980s. Robert Englund has pretty much fully committed to Freddy just banging out one-liners. This is where we get the clip of him, you know, with the sunglasses on the beach. You know, that was something that was in a ton of 1980s montages, because it is the 1980s, just like in a bubble right there, you know. Freddy Krueger, one of the big pop culture crossovers of the 1980s, one of the most recognizable characters right there, putting the sunglasses on. It's just in a dream sequence in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, but it just illustrates what the 80s were. Another, like, classic clip you probably see online is when he opens up his sweatshirt and he's got all the souls on his chest. You know, he also eats one of those, like, soul heads on a piece of pizza in this movie. Essentially what the franchise would become for the next three films before, you know, they bowed out and regrouped and made a new Nightmare in 1994. But I do really enjoy these, even though, again, you have to overlook the lead actress being replaced, and, you know, Joey and Kincaid from the last movie. We're going to kill them all off in the opening third of the movie because we have to shift our focus to a new character. And that character is Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox. And, you know, I understand what they're trying to do. The Nightmare franchise just does this a couple of times. It's not even like they just do this once. And it's nothing that's, like, new for 1980s franchises. I mean, look at the Friday the 13th franchise. People survive. We have to kill them off immediately in the first half of the next film just because we have to shift our focus to new lead characters. And Alice, like, luckily for her, Kristen dies so early in the movie, and she screams as she's dying, "I give all my powers to you," which is essentially all the powers of everybody else and her. So she's able to bring people into her dreams. She's very strong. She's also, you know, very skilled with some nunchucks. Like, she's got all of these powers. That's why she's the Dream Master. So her and her new group of friends, they have to take down Freddy Krueger in this movie. Now, the biggest improvement from 3 to 4 is the production design as far as, like, being in those dream sequences. I absolutely love that. They get very creative, you know, a lot more creative with the lighting as well. It doesn't look like cheap like it kind of does in Dream Warriors. It still looks a little bit cheap, but like 80s cheap, like 80s cheese, like, on it. Like, there's more effort put into it, and I really did appreciate that. The kill sequences are by far the best sequences in this film. The plot around everything is, like, very convoluted and just bad acting, in my opinion. So I always overlook that kind of stuff because it's hard for me to get emotionally connected to these characters when the acting is just not that good. You can see that these are, like, C-player actors in this movie, and it just does not work. So all that stuff around the kill sequences isn't great, even though there's also a really cool time loop sequence in here that I love, which is one of the standout moments in the entire franchise. You know, basically how the one guy's realizing it, and she's just not. You know, Alice is like, you know, like, what? And then they still continue on. So I just really do enjoy that aspect of this movie. It's just that for as fun as it is, it's also a little bit insulting, and I don't really necessarily run back to A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Master. I know people who consider this their favorite in the franchise, and I can see why. And I can't knock them, because as we go on, you'll see how much I truly enjoy Freddy's Dead, and I know people fucking hate Freddy's Dead. So I'm not going to knock anybody who says that this is their favorite in the franchise, because I do put Dream Master. Going into it, things do change. We'll talk about it at the very end of these videos. Is my third favorite in the franchise, but we'll get there. Let's talk about the Dream Master 4K Steelbook that just came out.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. The Dream Master.
And as always in these videos, I will be going to my handy-dandy Nightmare on Elm Street 7 film 4K Steelbook collection that we talked about a bunch of times so far, but it's always fun to look at because I do think she's very pretty. And this one, I really do think that the 4K Steelbook artwork has lent itself perfectly, because the matte finishing with that rainbow color, I think it works. Obviously it's the original artwork without the border, without the logo like we talked about. On the back right here, I think this all works as well. They kind of go with that gray, black and white thing in the back. Works fine. You come inside one disc. Again, we're leaning into the comedy, even on the Steelbook on the interior. That's when he's eating one of his souls off the pizza. Gross scene. I actually hate that scene, by the way. But I will be comparing this, as I have been, to the previously released Blu-ray in my Blu-ray box set right here. My friends in the UK got the previously released Blu-ray packed in there, and like we've talked about, all of the extras are exactly the same. So if you have seen the extras since the DVD days, you've seen them all, which is pretty disappointing. I just wanted a little bit more. Again, I've heard that once we get to New Nightmare, there's some new extras packed on there. I think like 2 or 3 new featurettes. That's fine, but I don't think we're getting any specific looks back. I don't think we're getting any specific look backs for some of these films. And this would have been a really good one, because there is such a big turnaround and a big 180 after everything that happened in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I mean, we replaced Patricia Arquette, different director. I would have loved to get some interviews with like the actors, maybe some producers at New Line, and like what their mindset was. It would have been really cool, but unfortunately, that's not what we got. We didn't really get that focus on the film, because they kind of just look at the franchise as a whole. They're not like individually picking out these movies, even though we all as fans have our favorites. They're just kind of looking at the entire franchise as a whole. The first one's very special. Some people think that A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is special, and then a lot of people think like A New Nightmare, and I think this too, is like a precursor to what Scream is. And then the rest of them, they're just like spread out. They're out there. They exist. People just want to watch them just because they want to see Freddy do his thing, which is true to a point, but still, I would have liked a little bit more love given to the extras. Now, the audio, exactly the same like we've been talking about. You get a brand new Dolby Atmos track while also getting the original audio, so if you want to check it out like you did back in 1987, it's on this disc, or you can check it out with the new revamped Dolby Atmos track, which, just like A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, is fucking fantastic. This is a great Dolby Atmos track. It's going to give your system a workout, making great use of all of the audio channels, by the way. Like, you're going to hear things coming from all over. A lot of great dream sequences. They were definitely the focus of the movie. That's where the money went, to these dream sequences. You can see it in the visuals, and you can see it in the audio. And luckily for us, the audio track is fantastic. Now, the visuals, just HDR10, but this is the biggest jump from the previously released Blu-ray to the 4K Blu-ray, and this is also the best 4K Blu-ray disc that I've seen so far in the entire franchise, and that includes A Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Now, again, like we've talked about, I don't think Warner Brothers did anything different when it came to these discs. I just think that the film elements, some are better than others, and the way they shot this film, there's like a lot of like bright green lighting throughout, and it just looks great on 4K Blu-ray. Certain colors just like lend themselves perfectly, and this is one of those, and I just think that this one had such a cool production design that the 4K Blu-ray looks fantastic, and that previously released Blu-ray, which, I know not everybody's going to be upgrading from the Blu-ray to the 4K Blu-ray, probably because, it's Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master. They'd like, maybe one day when they, like, cherry pick these out and re-release them on their own, maybe they'll go grab them, maybe they'll wait for sales, but, like, the previously released Blu-ray compared to this, like, it's night and day. That Blu-ray is flat. All of the colors are, like, not even noticeable. Like, it really does make you appreciate more of, like, what this movie was going for, just because the 4K Blu-ray, it's going to look closer to, like, actually what they were going for, in comparison to that Blu-ray that just looks like just flat. That's the best way I could really put it. Like, the colors are not there, the saturation's like turned way down, it's dark. You know, we're doing everything, we're improving in every single area on this 4K Blu-ray when it comes to the visuals and in the audio department as well. So this is one where I can absolutely justify picking up this 4K Blu-ray, even if, you know, when you're watching this, maybe it's not in the steelbook collection anymore and you can just buy it on its own. This is a huge upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K Blu-ray, and if I was going to give this one a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give A Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master a pretty damn solid 8.5 out of 10. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me in another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're enjoying the Nightmare reviews. And if you are, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We do have channel memberships, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel, like John Doe Juggalo, Harvey Scott, and Ben Rondo, you can do that. Or you can even become a channel director, like Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Nicholas Head, Uncle V, Stone Gas Man, and of course, Kevin Kruger. Or you could even bump it up to the channel bankroll members like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, if you got no money to throw my way, I don't mind, guys. I just hope you enjoyed the video. So if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.